Hello, everybody. I'm here once again. Time to talk some more wrestling. First of all, thank you, everybody, for following me during my live tweet sessions for both WWE Payback and WWE Monday Night Raw. I had a lot of fun doing that. It was fun to kind of, I've had a lot of fun doing the live tweeting thing during wrestling shows, and I definitely plan on continue doing it. If you would wish to participate during my live tweet sessions, just follow me on Twitter. The link is right down below in the description box, and we can just have a merry old time every time a wrestling show comes around. I plan on doing it again Wednesday night for Lucha Underground and NXT, much like I did last week. So yeah, I'm having fun with it. So I hope you all are having fun with it too, because it's a different way of kind of connecting with you guys and expressing myself and my opinions on wrestling, and it's allows me to be a little bit snarkier, a little bit more of an asshole, but it's fun. It's fun. I enjoy it. So yeah, but with that, let me get into my actual review of WWE Payback, my video review. Overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid show overall. Going into it, the card itself was one of WWE's better cards, one of their better pay-per-view cards in a long time. Not just because of who they were showcasing, though that certainly helped. A lot of it had to do with the setups and how they made those matches happen and the characters that they put together. And it felt like a more complete card than normal, where a lot of times it just feels like, all right, let's just throw a bunch of random shit together and see what sticks. Here it actually felt like there were some matches with some stories and some conflicts and with some context and plenty of other things going for it, and the end result was a card that was probably better than the usual WWE pay-per-view event. Certainly better than WrestleMania, but that goes without saying. So yeah, let's get started jumping right into it. We had the two pre-show matches. For some reason, they put Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler in the pre-show. I don't recall them ever announcing until the day of that the match was going to be on the pre-show, but maybe they did, and I just don't remember. Whatever. But Dolph Ziggler, Baron Corbin match was okay. I definitely disagree with Baron Corbin losing. He's supposed to be this big unstoppable monster, and here he is losing to Dolph Ziggler of all people. And I'm not knocking Dolph. I'm just saying, you haven't done enough with Dolph to make me believe that he could topple your next big unstoppable monster. Now, my fear is that they were going to build up Baron Corbin and just feed him to Cena, which I guess they could still do without keeping him invincible. But I guess it's nice that Baron Corbin's first loss on the main roster didn't come at the hands of John Cena. So that's not nice, I guess. But overall, I still disagree with the decision. I think Baron Corbin, one of his strengths is that he's kind of a dominant performer, so the longer you keep him believably dominant, the more of an asset he's going to be. And I think that was a bad call to have Ziggler go over. But for a guy that never goes over, it's like, wow, he's really going over in a situation where he shouldn't. But, the match itself was okay, but nothing to really write home about. I really liked the U.S. title match between Ryback and Kalisto. I thought it was way better than their Mania match, and their Mania match was solid too. And just, a nice power versus high-flying David versus Goliath type of match. They did a lot of cool, interesting things like the super military press off the top, and it was a nice, fast-paced, high-energy, energetic, match, and it was really, really good. I laughed at Ryback's belt, the weightlifting belt, the pre-show stopper, and it's like, makes me wonder if that has something to do with his recent contract disputes, and why he's being taken off WWE TV. But yeah, I thought the match was enjoyable. It's just a shame that they never do anything. They don't do enough to promote the U.S. title like it's worth paying attention to anymore. Not like they did last year with John Cena when he was the champion. Of course, there was no real payoff to Cena being champion, unfortunately. Alberto just beat him, and then that was it. They didn't really create a new star out of it or anything. But yeah, Rusev is going to be the next challenger based on what we saw on Raw the next night. So maybe they can kind of erase all the shit that they've done with Rusev. It's like, oh hey, we're supposed to care about Rusev again. Erase all the shit that they've done with him and hopefully get him back on track and maybe put the U.S. title back on him, and then we'll just pretend like the whole last year of his career and the whole last year of the U.S. title just didn't happen or whatever. But yeah. Yeah, so that was the pre-show. And then the show kicked off, oddly enough, with the New Day coming out, and then they did the pay-per-view preview package, or the pay-per-view intro package, which was really strange. Weird little formatting decision there. It was cool to see the New Day come out and watch the tag team match, but it was just weird that they came out before the pay-per-view intro video. Yeah, and I guess I'll talk about this now. There's all this talk during the pay-per-view and on Raw the next night about how this is the dawning of a new era for the WWE. Yeah, they're pushing new guys, but I wouldn't call it a new era because the formatting and the presentation style is almost identical to what it's been for the last, pretty much since the Attitude Era, at least since 2000. All the same tropes, all the same, formatting quirks, all the same, it's all there, and it's still, it's still a 3-hour show and everything, and that's always going to be something that they fight against for as long as they do that. To me, it doesn't really feel like a new era, even though they're pushing new guys and guys that I like. That isn't always the be-all, end-all, and that always isn't the problem. It's kind of like when they had the new generation in the mid-90s, and it's like, yeah, they've got all these exciting young talents. They've got Razor, they've got Shawn, they've got Brett, they've got all these guys. Taker, Foley came in 96. But the problem is that the formatting of the show kind of sucks, and the creative direction isn't really there right now. So you can call it a new era or a new whatever, but it's like if you don't fix the other formatting problems, it's not really going to help you. Compare that to when they eventually evolved into the Attitude Era, and that show was very exciting. And that felt like the dawning of a new era when they went in that direction full force. It's like here it just feels like we're still kind of doing the same stuff we've been doing for years and years and years now. It doesn't really feel like a new era. I mean, the show opened up last night with the McMahons talking about God knows what. So, there's that. But yeah, getting into the pay-per-view, we opened up with the tag team tournament finals, Vaudevillians versus Enzo and Cass. Unfortunately, we got the injury for Enzo Amore. I really feel bad for him because this is a guy that really got over in NXT, has a personality that everybody likes, finally gets up to the main roster, starts off really hot, he's doing really well, and then he gets knocked out in the middle of this match. And I'll be honest, I was getting, as that was going, first of all, I didn't realize that he was knocked out at first. I thought he was just selling because it happened so fast that I thought it was just part of the match. And then actually I started laughing at the New Day because they were sitting there eating pizza at ringside, which was really funny. But then I realized Enzo's not getting up, and I'm like, uh-oh, this looks bad. And it looked really, really bad. And thankfully they stopped the match and gave him medical attention. Unfortunately, I was kind of, I hate to say this, I was kind of getting flashbacks to that match with Rey Mysterio in Mexico where there was an unfortunate passing that occurred during that match, and how bad that situation is, how tragic that whole situation turned out. And this kind of reminded me of that, unfortunately. And I was like, oh dear God, I hope this isn't as bad as what my worst feeling is. Fortunately, they provided us updates throughout the night, and fortunately, it turns out he had a concussion. But other than that, he's fine. He could move his extremities and everything. And it's like a concussion was about the best case scenario for that situation because the video clip just looked nasty, where he just kind of the whiplash effect on he hit his head hit the middle rope and then it snapped back and kind of hit the bottom rope too, and it just kind of knocked him out. And I'm glad to hear that he's doing well. He's out of the hospital. It sounds like most of the tests were negatives. He has a concussion, but that's not. It could have been, and it looked much, much worse. So glad to see that Enzo's okay. They ultimately, on Raw the next night, they announced that they gave the win to the Vaudevillains. I'm fine with that. Regardless of who was going to go over in the match originally, I think either team would have been fine to win the tournament. So I don't think there was a bad one to go with. And given the situation, it makes sense just let the Vaudevillains go in and get the title shot in a few weeks. That's one thing I have to say, even though Vaudevillains lost the 8-man tag last night, which I disagree with. I disagree with the 8-man tag even taking place, because it's like, all right, I'm watching the Vaudevillains, wrestle the champions before the pay-per-view match, and I'm never a fan of that. But anyway, they've actually, with what they did at Payback and what they did on Raw the next night, they've actually set up some pretty interesting scenarios for Extreme Rules, and actually providing reasons for the gimmick rather than just shoehorning, oh, it's going to be an I Quit match because we said so. Oh, it's going to be a last man standing match because we said so, and not really using the story to complement the gimmick or letting the gimmick be a natural evolution of the story. They actually did that with some of the matches that they've set up for Extreme Rules, and I'll talk about that as I go. So yeah, that was the opening match. Ended abruptly. Unfortunately, Enzo got hurt, but it looks like the worst is over and he's going to be okay, and that's good to hear. The second match was Enzo. See, I've got Enzo in the brain. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Unfortunately, I was so worried about Enzo that I didn't pay attention to a lot of the early portions of this match. I was online, typing around, trying to get updates on Enzo to find out if he was okay. So I didn't catch all of this match, unfortunately. Match turned out very well. I don't think it's as good as some of their previous encounters, like the first NXT match they had, or if you want to go way back, the match they had at Final Battle, back in Ring of Honor, that amazing match they had. I don't think this match was anywhere near as good as those. But for a grudge match in a pay-per-view that was relegated to low-card status for some reason, even though it had an amazing video package, it almost wasn't allowed to be the truly super epic WrestleMania Starrcade style showdown, but for what it was very, very good, and I would gladly taken that at WrestleMania over the ladder match. But Kevin Owens won clean and then beat up Sami Zayn after the match, which was like, all right, Kevin's on the path, he's getting pushed, all right, that's great. Next match, Intercontinental title, Kevin Owens stays for commentary, which is great. States his intentions that he wants to win his IC title back, the thing that Sami Zayn cost him. It's like, all right, I've overcome Sami Zayn, now I'm moving on to the IC title. Miz and Cesaro have an IC title match. Good match. Enjoyable match. By the way, I like Cesaro's James Bond entrance. That looks really cool when he walks across the stage doing that. I think that's a nice little thing that they gave him. A match was good. I liked how it connected with the previous match. He set up a future contender with Kevin Owens. And Sami Zayn, having gotten beaten up after the match, was like, no, fuck that guy, I'm still mad. And he goes after Kevin Owens, and then the whole snafu leads to Cesaro getting distracted and Miz getting the roll-up or whatever. It wasn't as bad as some of the typical theme music plays and causes distraction roll-up. This one felt a little bit more organic. And I like that it played off events from the previous match. It's like, all right, there's cause and effect to everything, and everything is kind of connected in this whole situation. And all the characters have a purpose for being out there for one reason or another. And overall, the match was enjoyable, and now it looks like we're probably going to get a four-way between Miz, Cesaro, Owens, and Zayn. Personally, I feel like Zayn doesn't really belong in title contention because he's lost so much frequently, and he especially lost the big match to Kevin Owens, and that should have elevated Kevin Owens above him. I would probably let the three, Cesaro, Owens, and Zayn, kind of feud for contendership. Maybe at the next pay-per-view do Owens versus Cesaro. Well, I mean, they did that on Raw the next night, but it ended in a DQ, a match that wasn't restarted for some reason, even though we set the precedent that matches that end in DQs need to be restarted. I will get to that. Just bear with me. But in any case, at the next pay-per-view, I would probably have done Owens versus Cesaro, and something happens with Sami Zayn that causes Owens to lose, and then that sets up another Owens and Zayn match, and then or something. I don't know. Maybe do a triple threat at the next pay-per-view between the three. Basically, let the champion be the destination point and not just constantly do title matches over and over again. Kind of like what they did with the New Day at this pay-per-view. I was completely fine with them doing the tournament finals at the pay-per-view and use that to set up the title match at the next pay-per-view. You don't have to rush everything, and have a title match at every single event. You can take your time and establish stepping stones to get from point A to point B. It doesn't have to be the set rule. It's like, all right, you got to have the title match at every single pay-per-view. It's like, oh, the titles have to be on every single show or whatever. No, and they didn't do that with the tag titles. I don't feel like they need to do that with the IC title here. Miz won, which was no surprise. I actually kind of like what they're doing with Miz. I kind of like what they're doing with Cesaro. Dude's a stud. I mean, and it's nice to see him in a position where he's allowed to shine a little bit. And I like that you have guys at this high caliber of talent, like the Sami Zayns, the Kevin Owens, and the Cesaros, that want to be IC champion. And I'm like, yeah, it's a title that's worth fighting over if the guys want to have it. It's not just a belt that they put on somebody when they don't know what to do with them, and it's not always just a stepping stone to the World Heavyweight title. It's like, no, it's a prize that's worth fighting for. And I like that. So, IC title match turned out well. I believe next was Dean Ambrose versus Chris Jericho. Match was okay. It was a little hot and cold. At some points it really heated up and got really good. And other points it really got cold and took a while to get going. And it just kind of went up and down like that. I don't know. I guess that's just the way Jericho's matches are going to be from now on. Don't mean to sound like a dick, but that's just kind of how it is with him these days. Ambrose won, which I agreed with. I'm like, all right guy went over. Of course, that was kind of moot the next night on Raw when they just canceled the ambulance. Stephanie came out and canceled the Ambrose Asylum anyway, so it's like, oh, okay. So I guess the feud's continuing, or what? I don't know. But yeah, it was what it was. The match was there. Right guy went over, so we'll see how that feud continues going forward. What was after this? Was it the women's? I want to say it was the women's match next, but I'm not sure. I'll just talk about the women's match now. Charlotte versus Natalya for the women's title with Bret Hart in Natalya's corner and Charlotte and Ric Flair in Charlotte's corner. Now, match itself was kind of not one of their better efforts. I mean, I love their takeover match, and I really liked the match they had in February. What was that show they did? I've already forgot the name of the show. It was that like Road to WrestleMania show or whatever. I've already forgotten the name of it, but I thought that match was pretty good. They had a match on Raw a few weeks ago to set up this match that I thought was good. This one was kind of probably I don't want to say it was their worst match, because the worst one they had was Charlotte's first ever Raw match where she jobbed out to Natalya in 2 minutes, and that was like, okay, that's not a great way to debut somebody, but this match was kind of okay, a little herky-jerky, but I really like the ending where they actually referenced history and showed Charles Robinson as helping the Flairs by manufacturing a screw job where he says that Natalya quit when she really didn't, and using that whole thing. So now, again, talking about setting up gimmicks to work for the pay-per-view match upcoming for the rematch. So we have a submission match coming up at Extreme Rules where Ric Flair is barred from ringside. Up to this point in the feud, the impression has been is that Natalya can beat Charlotte, and pretty much a lot of the girls can beat Charlotte, but not if Ric Flair is out there helping her. So now that Flair's banned, it evens the playing field, and now Charlotte's going to have to beat Natalya legit. And also, the fact that it's a submission match plays off the fact that Natalya got screwed in the previous match by saying that she quit when she really didn't. So there's a gimmick that's complementing the story. And it's a nice touch and I like it. So overall, match itself was mad, but some really good booking to kind of make it a little bit more meaningful to raise it above normal from what you would expect from a match. And I actually kind of like the post-match where both Hearts got pissed and just locked the Flairs in the sharpshooter. So that was a nice way to give the crowd a feel-good moment without like undoing the story that they had told. And if you can work in and do stuff like that, that's usually a good thing. And then from there, we got the really, 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 really long segment between Vince McMahon, Stephanie, and Shane in determining who would ultimately take control of Raw. Vince decided that both Shane and Stephanie would be in control of Raw, which somehow also gave them control over pay-per-view main events. I'll get there when I get there. And it's like, okay. Here's my comment. It's like, it was a long walk. It was a long walk for a short glass of water. I felt like this whole thing could have been wrapped up in like 5 minutes, and it felt like it went on for about 20. And it's just going on and droning on and on and on. And it's like, all right, can we just get to the announcement? Can we just get to the announcement? Stop it. I would have liked it if they had just did the announcement like within the first 5 minutes of the show, and then did bits later in the show that showed Shane and Stephanie reacting to the news. And I would have been more like. And then that would have played into what happened in the main event. So I would have been more in favor of that than just having them stand out there for half an hour babbling on about God knows what, and then, they just make the announcement. That's just me. But whatever. So, yeah, the segment, it did what it did to set up whatever it is that's going on Raw right now. So am I the only one who doesn't give a shit who's in charge of the show? Like, this is always like a major story point, who's in charge of the show. And I'm like, I really don't care. I don't know why people care so much who's in charge of the goddamn show. I just want the fucking matches to mean something. I want to care about the fucking matches. I don't care who books the matches. Just stop it. Like, can we go back to Jack Tunney, please? All he did, he came and they dusted him off every time they needed him to address some kind of controversy. That's it. It was great. It was wonderful. Anyway, main event time. Roman Reigns versus AJ Styles for the WWE title. I enjoyed the match. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here, and it's going to tie into another topic that I want to talk about. I don't know where we got to this point that somehow countouts and disqualifications are not considered legitimate wins in the world of professional wrestling. They are. They exist within the rule structure. They're perfectly legitimate ways of winning matches. I fully understand why it's set up in a way to where they don't result in a title change, because disqualifications result on the referee's call making, and if the referee makes a bad call, you can get a title change. I mean, disqualifications are most reliant on referees' prerogatives, so I can understand that. And countouts don't occur within the legal field of play, so I understand. So from a psychology, logic standpoint, I understand that. But where do we get to this point that somehow countouts and disqualifications are not considered legitimate wins? Because that doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, okay, AJ Styles, in one of the best table spots I've seen in years, where AJ hit the phenomenal forearm from the inside of the ring to the outside of the ring and crashed through Roman Reigns through the table. Looked amazing. And one of the reasons I loved it so much is that it was a table spot where they didn't take 10 minutes setting up the damn table. I was like, so it was actually a shock when somebody got put through the table, and it looked really well. It looked really good and really well designed. It really reminded me of Bret Hart and Diesel from Survivor Series 95, which is probably one of my favorite table bumps of all time, because it was a complete shock that it happened. They didn't stand there for 30 seconds taking the monitors off and flipping the corner off, which that doesn't make any sense. If you're going to slam somebody through the table, you're going to fucking slam them through the table. It's like, what do you care if they fucking hit the monitors or something? I mean, I know they do that for the guy's safety, but again, within the psychology of it, of why would a hated enemy go to the trouble of clearing off the table just so he can slam the guy through it? I'm like, well, that's just a waste of time. That's just silly. So I really like this table spot, and I thought it was really well designed, and it was really good, and really, really good. And I like that it resulted in a count out, because it's he got knocked the fuck out with a finisher through a table. AJ was barely able to get back into the ring himself, so it was okay, I buy that as a finish. And then Shane McMahon comes out and restarts the match with no countouts. Why he would say no countouts and not no DQ on top of that, we found out later, but it's still okay. Because I think all our brains click. I'm like, all right, we know where this is going. The match is going to get restarted again. But, okay, I could understand if something cheap had happened to result in Roman Reigns getting counted out, or if there was some kind of controversy or something like that, but there wasn't. It was completely clean. AJ won the match completely fair and square within the rule structure of a standard wrestling match. Why does the match need to be restarted? I'm like, okay, so AJ's getting another chance to win the title, and Roman Reigns, who, I mean, granted, from a storyline perspective, I've always been like, yeah, AJ's the face here, fuck Roman. I'm like, I kind of feel bad for Roman now. That is completely unfair, and that's a bad call from management. I mean, as a bloodthirsty fan, you always want to see the fight continue and, get all the crazy shit to happen. But from a logical, sports standpoint, it makes no sense. It's like, AJ won the match fair and square. Why is the match being restarted? I'm like, all right, so from now on, all main events will be no count out, no DQ, right? Because that's what Lucha Underground did. Lucha Underground, they kind of, especially this season, they kind of have a lot of title matches that brawl through the crowd or have, weapons involved or whatever. And they've explained it's like Dario has told referees in title matches to kind of just let them go. And we want the title to be decided by pinfall or submission. I'm like, okay. I mean, I as long as you explain it, that's fine. I'm like, okay, so from now on, all WWE pay-per-views or pay-per-view main events should be no count out, no DQ, right? Otherwise, this makes no sense because you just set that precedent. Because there was no controversy here with AJ winning the way he did. He won fair and square. He just didn't win the way that he wanted to. And Roman, I mean, if Roman had lost the title here, I'd been like, yeah, that's a screw job. Roman got screwed. He shouldn't have to go back in there and defend his title again after getting slammed through a fucking table and getting knocked the fuck out. I mean, again, looking at it from within the storyline, that would be like if they told Enzo he has to get back in the ring and work the rest of his match. I know that one injury was real and one wasn't, but again, it's kind of like, there has to be a logic to this. And to me, it made no sense for the match to be restarted. It actually kind of put me in Roman Reigns' corner. I was like, no, this is bullshit. He's getting screwed. He's totally getting screwed. This is bullshit. And then he accidentally low-blowed AJ and got disqualified, which as we all knew was going to happen. Brought out Stephanie. She restarted the match. No countouts, no DQs. And then the Bullet Club came down and the Usos came down. It was a wild fucking free-for-all. You got your dog pile spot. Dog pile on the rabbit. Dog pile on the rabbit. They did that really cool spot where Roman hit the over-the-top dive on everybody. And then AJ came out of nowhere and hit him with the phenomenal forearm off the barricade. Yeah, there was a lot of bells and whistles here, but it was a lot of fun. It was a good main event. I'm just being like that asshole. I'm being like John Goodman's character from The Big Lebowski, where I'm like, am I the only one that gives a shit about the goddamn rules? Because, no, seriously, am I the only one that gives a shit about the rules? Because Roman is totally getting screwed here. And actually, when Stephanie came out, I was like, no, we need to have a clear, decisive winner. I'm like, within the rule structure, we've had a clear, decisive winner twice. So, fuck you. You're wrong. But I don't know. I'm a stickler for rules. That's me. But even with that, me ranting about that, and the way the match played out with Roman hitting the spear and getting the win, I'm kind of like, okay, so AJ Styles got screwed out of the winner's cut of the pay, assuming that's still a thing, which I've always assumed that that's still a thing. The winner gets paid more than the loser. The way, God damn it, I know it's worked, I know it's scripted, but God damn it, let me make sense out of this crap. And I'm like, okay, so AJ got screwed out of the winner's cut of the pay, Roman almost got screwed out of the title, and Shane and Stephanie make horrible, horrible decisions that don't make any sense within the rules that have been established and are in their fucking rule book, and they set a dangerous precedent that doesn't make any sense going forward. So any pay-per-view main event that does not have any main event or WWE title match that doesn't have no DQs, no countouts, officially makes no sense based on the way that this match played out. It's like, no, it's like they've set that precedent. It should be no DQ, no countout for every WWE title match and every pay-per-view main event going forward. They're not going to do that, but yeah, whatever. I'm ranting. But yeah, even with that, I still enjoyed the match. AJ looked great here. He looked like he belonged in the main event. That's something you always worry about, whether or not new guys will be accepted at the main event level, and sometimes it's hard to make that transition to gain the fans' acceptance to be seen as a main event player. AJ looked fine here. He looked like a star. He looked like he belonged there. It's very surreal seeing AJ Styles in a WWE pay-per-view main event, and he's going to be in another one at Extreme Rules, which again, the gimmick, even though I just ranted about how they booked that whole scenario there, it actually makes sense that the main event at the next pay-per-view is like, all right, we had this big snafu where there was DQs and countouts, and the match got restarted twice or whatever. All right, so for the next match, we're just going to throw that shit out the window, and it's going to be no DQs, no countouts, Extreme Rules at Extreme Rules. So they've actually created a justification for it being an Extreme Rules match besides just because that's the name of the pay-per-view. And that's usually the justification for gimmick matches. But I also really like the ending to Raw where they haven't officially formed the Bullet Club. AJ's just friends with them, which I kind of like. It kind of reminds me of when Shawn Michaels and Diesel were still friends in '96 after Diesel turned heel. And it's like, yeah, why should they not be friends now? Because that's there's that whole thing that's like, they don't treat the wrestlers like human beings. They treat them like you're either a heel or a face, and if you're a heel, all the heels are friends. If you're a face, all the faces are friends, which never made any sense to me. It's one of the reasons I hate lumberjack matches. So I like that there's like a little thing here where you have these two clear-cut heels in Gallows and Anderson, and a clear-cut face in AJ, but they're friends based off their history. I mean, they have no reason to hate each other. They're not officially formed as a unit yet, even though they could be based on their history. AJ's like, no, they're my buddies. I don't need their help to win, but they're my buddies, and yeah, tonight they're my tag partners. That's just how it is. And then you get to that whole ending of Raw where they want Gallows and Anderson want AJ to brutalize AJ with a steel chair, or brutalize Roman with a steel chair, and AJ won't do it. Actually, Spoonie, Noah Antweiler on Twitter, and one of the reasons I like doing the live Twitter thing is that I see how other people react to Raw. I had a great call where it was like, good, AJ, good, kill him. Basically quoting the Emperor from Revenge of the Sith, but yes, I thought that was really funny. But anyway, so you got that whole ending where AJ wouldn't hit Roman with the chair, but the Usos beat him up because they're dicks. So AJ beat them with a steel chair because fuck them, they deserved it. And then Roman went overboard and then beat the shit out of AJ. And I'm like, oh, AJ's the face now. I'm like, AJ, any question about it? They're like, AJ's unquestionably the face in this scenario. So yeah, I actually liked what they did, the ending to Raw last night. Raw itself as a whole last night was kind of, it was one of those shows where I definitely felt the 3 hours, and there's definitely a lot of things that didn't work, but there were a handful of things that did work. So, I'll throw praise where praise is deserved. So overall, Payback, I enjoyed the show overall. Again, not perfect. A couple of problems here and there, a little up and down in places, but overall it was an enjoyable pay-per-view with a fun main event, a couple of fun undercard matches, and some fresh talents and fresh pairings being showcased. So overall, I enjoyed myself. So yeah, I talked about Payback. I also talked about my DQs and countouts thing and went on my soapbox for that. I guess I could talk about Camp WWE, which I watched right after Payback. A lot of the reviews I'm reading of the show are negative. I'll agree that it wasn't perfect, and there were a couple of jokes that really, really fell flat. The big one was there was a fart joke in there that really fell flat, but as fart jokes tend to do. But overall, I enjoy the concept. Some of the characters are fun. I really like Kid Undertaker. This like spooky goth kid I think is great. I love Big Show as the token fat kid. Which I hope they do more with Undertaker and Big Show because I think they can be two of my favorite characters on the show. I even like Triple H as a counselor, and the fact that they made him like a sycophant and an idiot, I think is great. I thought Vince McMahon stole the show completely. I was like, goddamn, like almost everything he said was hysterical. Like, homesickness is like communism. That leg thing? No, that was just a work. Just everything, just one zinger after another. It was like, oh my god, Vince is hilarious. So overall, I like the concept. There were some jokes that really worked for me. Some of the characters I liked. It wasn't a perfect episode by any means. It is a pilot. Normally with pilots, I look for, it's like, all right, what can this become? Because typically pilots aren't the strongest episodes because the show's not polished yet. I mean, there are a couple exceptions like Breaking Bad or Archer, which was perfect right off the bat. But for the most part, the pilot typically isn't that strong of an episode, but you kind of look at it and you go, all right, what can this turn into? And I think there's potential for Camp WWE to turn into a really good show going forward. Just work out some of the kinks and some of the rough edges. I think they'll be okay. Focus more on the kids. I would definitely like more of that because I think there's potential with Austin as a rambunctious kid character. I think there's potential with kind of this whole like fucked up Peanuts thing. Because I always like it when shows do that, where when it's a show about kids, I like it if they can kind of have their own like fucked up version of the Peanuts. It's one of the reasons I like South Park so much. It was one of the reasons I liked Hey Arnold when I was a kid. That wasn't an adult cartoon, but you get my idea, where it's just kids being kids, but it's kids with these really exaggerated personalities and traits. Recess was another one I thought was really good at that. So I hope they, again, focus more on the kids and work off some of the rough edges, some of the rougher parts of the episode. Ric Flair, who I thought was going to be really, really funny, they kind of took his whole I hump everything bit a little too far to the point where it stopped working. So hopefully they scale back on that. Sergeant Slaughter was really funny. Unfortunately, there was the ending with him seemed to be like this build up to some big punchline, and there was no punchline. I was like, okay, it's just all right, fine. But so yeah, like I said, not perfect, but there were enough enjoyable parts. I could watch cartoon character Vince McMahon all day long. I know that guy was hysterical. I'm sorry, I just loved him. I was like, Vince McMahon is actually my favorite part of the show. Never thought I would say that out loud ever again. But so Camp WWE, I'm going to keep watching it. I think there's potential. We'll see if it develops into something really good. There were definitely parts I enjoyed about it. I think there's enough there for me to at least give the show a chance, and we'll see if I'm right going forward. But yeah, that's all I have for now. So yeah, continue to follow me on YouTube. Continue to follow me on Twitter. Like I said, link is down below in the description, and be on the lookout for more videos. I definitely have more coming up. Unfortunately, the top 10 matches for April 2016 I couldn't do today because I kind of got backlogged with a bunch of other things. So that will definitely be in the next video. So yeah, top 10 matches for April 2016 will be in the next video. Be on the lookout for that. Also, more classic matches. I can tell you that the next classic match I'm going to do, I've already, and by the way, I know people are requesting matches and everything, but for right now, for the next, 6 or 7 months, I actually have a list mapped out of the matches I want to do. So it's a very self-indulgent series of videos where I'm talking about the matches that I want to talk about. I know I'm a selfish prick, but that's how I operate. So the next classic match I do is actually going to be one of the Randy Savage versus Diamond Dallas Page matches from 1997. I won't say which one, but it's going to be one of those matches. So it's going to be a WCW match next. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be coming in the next few weeks. Star Wars videos, I've decided, yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah, Star Wars book reviews. The first one will be coming in June, so be on the lookout for that. I haven't decided what the first review is going to be. It's either going to be Shadows of the Empire, the Thrawn trilogy, or the Dark Empire trilogy. It's going to be one of those three. I think the first one I do should start off with a really significant one, but I'm kind of deciding which one would serve best as a first entry in the series. So again, that'll be coming in June. Be on the lookout for that. That is all I have for you now, though. So hope you all are enjoying your week, and hopefully you all are enjoying professional wrestling right now. Plenty to look forward to. Again, follow me tomorrow night on Twitter. I'll be doing a live tweet session of both NXT and Lucha Underground. I'll be watching Lucha Underground first at 8 o'clock, and then I'll be watching NXT. So that's typically how I operate, and that's how I'll run my Twitter too. But until then, that's all I have for now. Y'all enjoy your week, and I'll see you all later.